Our first scripture reading this morning will be a responsive one, and your reading will be in bold. It is from Psalm 27. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? One thing I ask from the Lord, this only do I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze on the beauty of the Lord and to seek him in his temple. For in the day of trouble, he will keep me safe in his dwelling. He will hide me in the shelter of his sacred tent and set me high upon a rock. Our next reading is from Revelation 21. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "Look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away." I did not see a temple in the city, because the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are its temple. The city does not need the sun or the moon to shine on it, for the glory of God gives it light, and the Lamb is the lamp. The nations will walk by its light, and the kings of the earth will bring their splendor into it. Oh, no day will its gates ever be shut, for there will be no night there. The glory and honor of the nations will be brought into it. Hear what the Spirit is saying to the church. Thanks be to God.
So here's the thing about saints. They see something that the rest of the world doesn't see, can't see, or chooses not to see. They see something beautiful in the world. And we could say that a saint is someone who lived a life that exemplified the Christian life, the Christian way. And that's true. They were the sent ones, but they also saw something different. It's fitting that we're ending our sermon series on the Surprise the World, the 5 habits of highly missional people, with this topic of being sent on All Saints' Day. Everything that we've been reflecting on over the last 4 weeks has brought us to this morning. That as people of faith, as followers of Jesus, we are meant to be people that bless others, that strengthen and encourage others, that invite others to eat with them, to spend time with other people at the table. A part of our call is to develop a listening ear, to be with God in silence and solitude, and by marinating our lives in the story of Christ found in the Gospels. And our final habit this morning brings it all together and then pushes us out the door. Every Sunday we end worship in the same way, with a benediction, a blessing, which can be defined as a blessing on God's people as they scatter from their place of worship. But the thing is, we don't just scatter, right? We are sent from this time of worship back into the world. We are sent people with a mission for our lives to announce and demonstrate God's reign and God's presence in this world. And that's simply the work of the saints. They exemplify, they give an example of the Christian life. Our call is to be highly missional people, which means that we alert others to God, right? We help them see God in their lives. And so we alert others to the love and grace and forgiveness and, yes, beauty of God in this world. We stand as a testimony to beauty in a world often filled with ugliness. What will surprise the world? Beauty. A few weeks ago, my family went to Brown County in southern Indiana for a few days. We had a wonderful time together to see all the fall colors, of course, and to spend time with one another in this beautiful season. And we stopped by a place called the TC Steelhouse. Has anybody been there in Brown County? It's a beautiful little place. It's a kind of a park now dedicated to the life and legacy of TC Steele and his wife. TC was an early 20th century artist from Indiana, probably one of the most best well-known painters and artists from the Hoosier State. And so as we walked around the grounds of his house, we got a sense of the beauty that he experienced day in and day out in southern Indiana. And then as we walked around, I saw this quote on the side of his studio. "Seasons come and go. Eternal change, but always with their gifts of beauty." That made me start thinking. Probably too much for vacation. But I started thinking, it's all beauty? The struggles, the change, even death? But we do know that the struggles and change teach us, right? It's how we learn and grow in life. And life isn't what it is without death. And we even see it in the seasons, right? The seasons teach us that change is beautiful. We can't experience springtime or summer without winter and fall. And they all bring their own beauty, right? Something that T.C. Steele and his wife saw so clearly. And so I thought as we were walking the grounds, maybe he was right. And then we started walking a little more on some of the trails on the property, and we came to this small cemetery kind of on the back part of the lot. And there was a small family cemetery, and sure enough, engraved on T.C.'s gravestone was this quote there at the bottom that you can kind of see. It says, "Beauty outlives everything." Beauty outlives everything. So as we walked through the trails and the trees, the leaves falling, the slight chill of fall met the warmth of the sun, I kept thinking, TC was right. And it's something that God's people have always known, right? David, who wrote many of the Psalms, speaks of the beauty of the Lord in the Psalm reading we shared in together this morning. "One thing I ask from the Lord, this only do I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze on the beauty of the Lord, to see the beauty of our divine Creator, everything." And so I kept thinking, maybe TC was right. I think David was right too. Beauty outlives everything because it's all a gift from God. At the very end of the Bible, we read this vision of John of Patmos, of the New Jerusalem, the world to come. And I heard a loud voice coming from the throne saying, "Look, again, look, gaze. God's dwelling is among the people, and God will dwell with them." The voice was telling John and all of us to look for the beauty of God in all things and everywhere. And the reading that we shared in this morning is a beautiful reading that in the end, what will come in God's presence, in God's kingdom, is a new heaven and a new earth, a place where there's no crying or pain or hurt or brokenness, but wholeness in God's presence. And there's nothing more beautiful than the words we read in Revelation 21. In a world where death does exist, where evil seems like it has kind of an easy way, where there's crying and pain, the vision that John sees is a world that's completely and wholly filled with beauty, because God is beauty. And saints, our saints saw the beauty of God. And now they see the fullness of that beauty in God's kingdom in this moment. Our best missional habit to the world is to be sent into the world to look for beauty and to point it out. Pastor and author Brian Zahn wrote a wonderful book that I would recommend titled "Beauty Will Save the World." And in his book, he wrote, "Our task is not to protest the world into a certain moral conformity, but to attract the world to the saving beauty of Christ. We do this best not by protest or even political action, but by enacting a beautiful presence within the world." As we prepare for the election on Tuesday and whatever is to come next, as people of faith, our call, our task, our missional habit is to be a beautiful presence in the world. To look around creation and see beauty everywhere, and especially in this season. It's a beautiful thing to remember and give thanks for the saints this morning. It's a beautiful thing to gather on election night and to pray and to share in communion, to say that we're in this together and we unite around Christ. To know that however the rest of this week will come, regardless of the election, of the outcome, no matter what other people say or even do, I know that I can bring a beautiful, grace-filled, loving presence into the world this week. So take time to get away from the news. I thought I'd get an amen there, but that's okay. Take time to see something beautiful. Take time to see the beauty of creation. Take time to see something beautiful in someone else and yourself. I read a quote recently by author and poet Ian Thomas, who wrote, "Every day, the world will drag you by the hand, yelling, 'This is important, and this is important, and this is important. You need to worry about this, and this, and this.' And each day, it's up to you to yank your hand back, put it on your heart, and say, 'No, this is what's important.'" So I invite you to place your hand over your heart. Just take a deep breath. And whatever this week will bring, just know that there's beauty in God everywhere. So I invite you to repeat these words after me. "The Lord is my light and my salvation. This only do I seek, to gaze on the beauty of the Lord." May you live that out this week. May you see beauty everywhere and in all things, knowing that God is calling us to go forth to be highly missional saints, sent people who exemplify the beautiful Christian life. Friends, there's nothing more beautiful than gathering around a meal table of all things. A meal table that invites us to remember, invites us to give thanks, and most importantly, invites us all to receive grace and love and forgiveness. So on this All Saints Sunday, we gather once more around this table, knowing that God is with us, inviting us into a beautiful meal where all are welcome to receive. Would you please respond as we enter into